Good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution, episode 331. It is Wednesday. How about this? 3 days in a row going live in the morning, just like old times, right? I didn't do much in the hobby yesterday, but today, Brad's in the chat. So, Brad talked a little bit about cash flow on one of his recent shows, and it kind of gave me a little pause to think about my own cash flow selling baseball cards. And this isn't a how to, this isn't uh, guidance, but maybe it will make you think a little bit because I want to share what I did and what I did wrong when I was moving baseball cards and thinking, could I do this part-time or maybe even full-time? So I want to talk about some of the missteps, mistakes that I made a few years ago, and then what I did to change that. So I just want to share my experience on increasing cash flow by selling baseball cards. What's up, Dan? Good morning. So didn't do much in the hobby yesterday. After work, I mowed the lawn, did some yard work. Um, we had a window. We had a lot of rain on Monday. We're supposed to get some storms today. So I wanted to, I should have mowed on Saturday, maybe Saturday. I think I was home Saturday. Yeah, Saturday, but I was kind of lazy, gone Sunday, and then rain Monday. So wanted to catch that window. So did yard work, did not watch a second of the All-Star game. Now I watched basically the home run derby from start to finish. But I had, I won't say I had no interest or zero interest in the All-Star game itself because I had planned on watching the first inning because I wanted to see Ohtani pitch and hit in the All-Star game. But after I did yard work, I ate dinner, took a shower, and I don't even know what time it started. And by that point, it's like, I'm just going to hang out upstairs, um, and did not tune in. I don't even know. It's I've been up for an hour this morning. I don't even know who won last night. I don't know who the MVP was. I don't know any details of last night's All-Star game. So if you did watch, say something in the chat, because that'll be my first update on the All-Star game last night. Oh, Vlad was the MVP. Oh, cool. Very nice. Vlad Jr. I'll have to dig out my I think I have one Heritage Vlad rookie left. Maybe I'll have to pull that out and toss that on eBay. So that was the American League one. American League always seems to win. Boo. So that was my night. Not much hobby related. So let's talk cash flow. And again, this is not advice. This is my experience on improving cash flow when it comes to selling baseball cards. So in 2000, backtrack, and I've told this story before. I got back. I've always had my toes in the water in the hobby since 1988, but it's been off and on. And I ducked out of baseball cards in '92 and got into basketball cards. By '95, I was basically not even collecting cards. I was into pro wrestling. I was watching Monday Night Raw, collecting wrestling magazines. '98, I came back in. Then, I was in high school. And then all of a sudden college came along. And now I was stuffing my baseball cards in the closet because I didn't want anybody to know of my nerdy hobby, that age in your 20s. What's up, Herman? So in the early 2000s, it was off and on. 2012, I basically bought my first collection, I guess you could call it. It was at an antique shop. And I don't know if I've told this story. So my friend Dave, who actually went to the National together, he calls me on a Sunday, and this is in 2012, I think. he calls me on a Sunday and he's like, dude, there's a bunch of baseball cards up here at the antique store. And there was like an antique mall in this small town about 5 miles from where we lived. And so this is 2012, and I'm like, oh great, it's going to be a bunch of overpriced junk wax era, which you still seem to find at antique stores and garage sales and the like. So I'm like, yeah. So he's like, oh, they've got some cool stuff. So I'm like, all right, let's go up there. So we go up there, and it was mostly junk wax, pretty much all of it. There was a whole table. I had no interest in anything there. Dave wanted a set, and it was marked for $25, and it was like a 95 top set. One he didn't have or something. It was $25. So he offered $20, and the guy turned him down. The owner of the store or whoever, he's like, nope, I gotta have 25 for that. And so he's like, okay, and I'm not interested at 25. So the owner, the antique shop owner, goes, I'll sell you everything for 200. And I mean, it was a big table. It was probably an 8-foot table. There was stuff underneath. There were uncut sheets. There were wax boxes. There were complete sets. There was a box of just kind of random stuff. There was a Billy Ripken F-face card. There was a Steve Young rookie card. And yeah, for $200. And I told Dave, and I'm like, I don't know if I want all of this, but you want to go halvesies? And he's like, yeah. So that allowed him his set. So he pays $100 and he gets his $20 set plus half of what we got. So this was a lot of fun. So we bought the collection, I guess you could call it, loaded up in the back of his truck, and it filled up, and he had a small truck at the time, like wasn't an S10, a Dodge Dakota is what it was. So he had a Dodge Dakota, and it filled the entire back, of the truck. And we took it to my house, and we had a draft. So this was cool. It was a collection. So there was one thing that I wanted. I can't even remember what it was. The Steve Young rookie and the F-face were actually in a box. Like the Billy Ripken was in an envelope, and we didn't even know. Dave was like, I already have that. So he's like, you can just have that whole box. So yeah, so we had a draft, and so I gave him the first pick because he had something that he really wanted, and he found the cards. So he got the first pick, and obviously he took the set that he wanted for $20. I got the second pick, and I drafted something that I had my eyes on. I don't even remember what it was, but and we just went back and forth, and then he selected this set and I selected that set. So it was a lot of fun, and it was a dang good deal for $200. So I got the Steve Young rookie, I got the Billy Ripken, I got a bunch of uncut sheets. In fact, I think I still have one. Actually, I think I sold all of them. The uncut sheets were 93 tops, and it was the whole set. Unfortunately, there was some water damage, and the Derek Jeter sheet was water damaged, and that was like, but there were, out of the sheets, I think only 2 or 3 were water damaged. Unfortunately, the most valuable one was, but it was a lot of fun. So that's kind of what fed my, that's what drove me to look for more collections. Moved to Wisconsin in 2014. Within a couple weeks, I found a very small collection, and I had a lot of fun doing it. So then that's just, that really got the juices flowing. By 2016, I'm like, I want to do this as kind of a side hustle, part-time job. Could I do this full-time? And this was a great time to experiment, because the hobby was down. The hobby was way down in 2016, 2017. I mean, you could go into Walmart and Target, and there were boxes of previous year's product on sale. Like you could go in and get the previous year Bowman blaster boxes for $10. So like it was almost like buying a car. Blaster boxes depreciated as soon as you took them out of the store. It was the best of times and it was the worst of times, because it was the best of times you could find anything you wanted. It was the worst of times you could find anything you wanted because nobody else wanted it, therefore it didn't have much value. So I felt, hey, this is a good time. Actually, in hindsight, I say that, not at the time, but in hindsight, looking back, it was the perfect time to kind of do this experiment, because it was basically the floor of the hobby. So, if I can make this work, looking back in hindsight, if I could have made that work then, look what the good times, 2020, 2021, look what you could do selling baseball cards. So 2016, I was buying cases and I was doing the rip and flip, and I was making like no margin. I'm talking Heritage, 2016 Heritage. I think I made $300 profit, which is really good on ripping and flipping. But then Bowman came along and I like lost 200. And then the next product I made $50, and the next product I lost $50. And so basically I kept a spreadsheet of all my profits and losses, and how much in supplies was I spending in supplies, how much in postage, what was my net, and my margin was ridiculously low, like crazy low, like not even. Now looking back, it's like how could I make that work? Because now today I'm making what I did in a month then in like 2 days today, and that's all because I was approaching it in the wrong aspect. And what I was doing, I was ripping and flipping. Spreadsheet, yes, I said spreadsheet. So what I was doing was I was ripping and flipping, and I was buying collections as well. And collections even then were hard to find. I would find a good collection once a year, and then I'd find one or two smaller ones. Now today it's almost impossible to find these big bulk collections because everything seems to be popular, and so that's one of the advantages I have today from some of the what I thought was garbage 3-4 years ago is now valuable. So the margins were minimal. One of the biggest mistakes I made was I kept buying. I kept buying because I wasn't selling much. So my thought process in my head at that time was I didn't sell anything for 2 days, 3 days. So that means I need to buy more. I need to replenish my inventory and try to, buy stuff to resell. And that was a big mistake I made because I had plenty of inventory. You see behind me, I had plenty of inventory to move, but I wasn't moving it. And had I listed everything that I currently had, not spend any additional money, yeah, maybe I don't make any sales for a week. At least I was pumping more inventory that's not an additional cost over what I'm currently holding in my inventory. So that was the biggest mistake. And my wife would mention it to me on a fairly common basis. Why do you keep buying? You should be, because I was bringing more stuff in than I was sending out. So I was sitting on stuff. So what I was doing with buying collections was I would buy a collection. I'll just throw out a round number. Say I spent $1,000 on a collection. What I would do is I would take the cream off the top. Okay, here's a 78 Topps complete set. Sell that for 100. Here's a 77 Topps set, another $100. I was selling some of the stuff that I could, $1,000. I'm gonna sell some of the top stuff to get back that 1,000. Once I made that 1,000 and I got to break even, I was just I was just okay, I'm done. Um, Subtraction by addition. So exactly. So I was just, once I got to break even, it was like, okay, I'm done. Moving on. Let's go to the next one. And that was a terrible approach because there was no cash flow coming in. I had a professor in college that said break even makes you starve or something to that effect. And so my profits in my side hustle of selling cards were starving because I kept trying to buy more and buy more when I had stuff to sell, even though it was low dollar stuff. Now, another thing that you know, things that I learned along the way, label printers saved a ton of money on. I'm saving a ton of money on, printing because I've got the label printers. So I wasn't doing that. Postage, I was spending the 55 cents on stamps instead of getting them in bulk for 38 cents. And it was actually 58 cents because 3 cents per envelope. I was not trying to find the best deals on supplies. I was buying in bulk, but I wasn't as tight with the purse strings as I could have been. So that was another thing that was kind of limiting my cash flow was, I wasn't taking advantage of, stamps, 20 cents, saving 20 cents per stamped envelope is huge when dealing in bulk. Yeah, if you're selling a few cards here and there, it's not much. But when you're selling 1,000 cards a month and that 20 cents, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of cash flow that you're getting plugged up by not taking advantage of the best deal possible. So that was another thing. But the main thing was I just kept wanting to buy more, and new products would come out, and I would think this next product, this is going to be the one. The next product, this is going to be the one, and they were never the one. And I learned quickly that ripping and flipping sealed wax was fun, but it was just the margins weren't there. And I didn't learn until 2020 that some of the best sales I had were sitting in these boxes from buying the collections. So this is why I can't give the advice because a lot of that is okay, well you have 2 million cards that you bought 5 years ago for nothing, and all of a sudden some of these cards became worth a lot. So, it's hard to say go out and buy cheap collections and wait 5 years and then you might have something because that's kind of contradictory to the whole cash flow thing. Um, yeah, $2,400 a year in stamps. So I was sitting on a lot of the stuff that I just thought was garbage. So in a way that worked out well for me because even if I would have saved, I probably sold I don't even know what a 78 top set goes for now, but I probably sold it for $90 to $100 back in 2018 or whenever that was. Um, but a lot of the stuff, you know, the tennis cards, I have made a killing on 2007 Ace Authentic tennis cards, base cards. I pulled 14 Novak Djokovic rookies. I sold them for an average of $75 per card. The last couple sold for 100. Had I held for another month, now they're selling for like 100 to 125. Roger Federer selling for $7-8. Maria Sharapova sells for a few bucks. Caroline Wozniacki sells for a few bucks. Rafael Nadal sells for $5. And I mean, there's 15 of each of those that were just kind of a throw-in to this collection I bought because it was like, oh, these are tennis cards, these are crap, or these are soccer cards, these are Olympics cards. Olympics cards. Now that's coming up, I've started listing those Olympics cards that were basically a throw-in to a collection I bought, a couple years ago, and all of a sudden, they have gone up in value. So that's my story, and I know it's impossible to exactly replicate things, and what worked for me is not going to work for most people, and what works for other people is not going to work for me. But I just wanted to share my story on cash flow because maybe it can give you an idea, and maybe it could work. And and I guess one thing from the tennis cards example is that don't underestimate anything in when it comes to the hobby or cards. We know 91 Fleer kind of sucks. So I don't think 91 Fleer is ever going to pop out and, or any set from that era, for example. But things that we don't know, what I found have been like the best in ROI, because I put zero value on tennis cards when I picked up that collection, and they went in a closet. And then all of a sudden it's like, I'm going to put these in the quarter box. Well, I wonder if any of these are worth anything. Oh crap, Novak Djokovic sells for this much money. UFC, I sold the Nurmagomedov or whatever that guy's name was. Found two of his cards. They sold for like $50. They were in a box under one of these shelves because it was UFC and I didn't know anything about UFC. So don't take anything for granted. If you do buy collections, find collections, and it's like, oh, these are crappy tennis cards or UFC or something you don't collect, because there might be something in there. If the pandemic never happened, I don't think any of those other sports cards would be worth anything. I agree and I disagree. I think they still would have been. Would Novak Djokovic sell for $100? No. But would he sell for 20? I think so. I think there's kind of a percentage of what they would still. Would they be worth anything? Yes. Would they be worth what they're selling for? No. It would probably be 20%, 25% of current values. So I think I agree and I disagree. I don't think they're just throwaway commons, but they're not anywhere near what the current sales would reflect. Got a couple new guys lined up for Saturday. Oh, by the way, so Hobby Roundtable this Saturday on Herman's channel on 3B Collection. I'm going to be a game time decision. I don't know if I will be. So Saturday is my bike ride to New Glarus. So I don't know what my timeline is going to be. So I'm kind of 50-50 right now. I should be at 7:00, so I should be back and ready to go for it, but I'm not sure. My wife is doing a girls' day with her friends in Chicago, so I don't know if she's going to be around. So I just kind of don't know my situation for set. That's kind of the issue with weekends in the summer, is I don't know what's going on. It's kind of like a take it as you go. So my plans, Brad's going to be at a show. That's awesome. I can't wait to hear your recap. So Saturday's my New Glarus bike ride. And then the following Saturday is the Madison Card Show, July 24th. So looking forward to that. And then a few days later, so we're 2 weeks. We are at the 2-week warning, 2 weeks away from the National. I cannot wait. I'm getting so stoked. I've been putting auctions on eBay, just talking cash flow today, just trying to get as much cash flow so I can spend that on Cubs stuff at the National. And not just Cubs stuff. I'll be at the dollar boxes looking for stuff to flip for future cash flow. I'm going to go live as much as the internet will let me. That's the issue, man. That's the issue with card shows. Usually the internet absolutely sucks. Like the National, like the internet there is just absolutely horrendous. Like it's just like, I can't, like, you'd love to just go around and live tweet, but there's the internet, it's non-existent in that cavernous convention center. So that's what I had for today. I had something on the tip of my tongue. Now I forget. but I've got to run. It's garbage day, so I've got to get all my stuff taken out to the curb. Uh, so have a wonderful Wednesday. And Dan says my 1 month mid-semester break starts this weekend, but I'll be working in English camps at other schools for 2 weeks. Very cool. Probably talk a little more national as we get closer. So that's what I wanted to talk about: cash flow, and just some of the mistakes that I made, and some of the things that I learned along the way. And yeah, and it's and kind of like Dan mentioned, yeah, would some of those cards sell without the pandemic? There's a lot of things that go into it. Finding those collections, is everybody going to find a collection with, cards that could potentially be worth $100 each? Absolutely not. That's a super rarity. But the more times you do buy collections, the more times you do find these things, the more times these things can occur. So that's all I had today. Have a great day. And I should be live tomorrow morning. I believe it's Wednesday, so Brad's going to go live on his channel, Texas Card Dude. And Brad, are you going to be? I think Brad's going to be going on tonight as well, so that'll be fun. So have a great one, and we should talk tomorrow.